Hey guys, this is Kendra with Signing Agent Basics. Thank you so much for joining me again for another Saturday live stream training. I don't take it for granted, guys, that some of y'all take time out of your Saturday afternoons to come and hang out with me and learn more about being a more productive and profitable signing agent. Now, I usually specifically do signing agent subjects. However, as we know, all signing agents are notaries public. So sometimes I go more in depth on subjects that are specific and helpful for notaries public. So that is what we are talking about today, is a specific notary public subject. And we are going to talk about notary law mistakes that can cost you. So guys, this is going to be whether for you want to be a signing agent, whether you want to do remote online notarizations, whether you are doing general notary work, it doesn't matter. Anything that you are doing that requires you to be a notary public, then this training is for you, because I know a lot of people get super excited about all of the opportunities that are available as a signing agent, as a notary doing general notary work, as a notary doing remote online notarizations, that sometimes people skip the basics of notary law that they need to know to be successful, and more important than that, to be compliant with your state's notary law. So that's why I'm going to go over this information with you guys today, to make sure that you have those basics down so that your business can be successful. But guys, before I do that, do me a favor, whether you are watching this on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you are watching this, whether you're watching this live or you are watching the replay, go ahead, hit that like button, hit the thumbs up button, hit the heart button, whatever it is, go ahead, hit that button for me. Then do me another favor, come on over to the Signing Agent Basics YouTube channel and make sure that you hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. While I do stream these videos on Facebook and LinkedIn as well, everything starts here on the YouTube channel. So to make sure that you don't miss anything, come over to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, and then hit the notification bell. And guys, as always, I love to see where you guys are tuning in from, where you are watching from. So do me a favor, whether you are watching this live or on the replay, let me know a couple of things about you. Let me know first what city and state you are in. Then let me know whether you are an aspiring signing agent. That means you haven't done any loan signings yet. A new signing agent, you've been doing the signing agent thing for 1 year or less, or a veteran signing agent. You have been doing this signing agent thing for more than a year. So again, in the chat, or if you're watching on the replay, in the comments, let me know first what city and state you are in. Then let me know if you are an aspiring signing agent, a new signing agent, or a veteran signing agent. And then guys, if you are joining me here on the live stream, I need to make you guys my unofficial assistants. A lot of times during the live streams, there'll be people who come in a little bit late and you'll see them freaking out a little bit in the chat. Oh my gosh, I missed the first part. Is there going to be a replay? Is there going to be a replay? Yes. The replay will be available as soon as the live stream is over. So if you happen to see anyone in the chat ask, will there be a replay available? Please do me a favor. Let them know, yes, the replay will be available. But again, guys, let me know what city and state you are in, and then let me know if you are an aspiring signing agent, a new signing agent, or a veteran signing agent. I got a lot of stuff to go over, so I'm going to show a few of you guys where you're watching from, but then we're going to jump on in. I normally try to do everybody, but I don't think I'm going to have time to do everybody today. So today I'm just going to do a few, but we've got folks here from Texas. My Texas people always show up and show out. I appreciate you. We got folks here, Valerie from Dallas, Texas, who is an aspiring signing agent. Hopefully this video and this information helps you out today. We have Rick watching in Miami, Florida. He is an aspiring signing agent. Rick, thank you so much for joining. We've got Shannon from Fort Worth, Texas, a 24-year veteran. Look, even the veterans come in to be nosy and see what's going on. So Shannon, as I'm going through this, let people know that this is information that they need to know, because I know you a veteran. You're going to let them know the truth. Eden is new. They haven't done any signings yet. That's okay. You can still do it. This is information that you definitely need to know. We've got folks here, a veteran from Atlanta, Georgia. We've got folks here from Maryland, an aspiring signing agent. We've got folks here from Morristown, another aspiring signing agent. Again, guys, I'm not going to be able to show everybody who is here, but please keep telling me what city and state you are from and letting me know whether you are an aspiring signing agent, a new signing agent, or a veteran signing agent. And of course, guys, I am going to have a Q&A, a question and answer session at the end of the live stream video. Please do your best to try to hold your questions until the end. I get easily distracted. So if I start answering a question in the middle of this thing, I may not finish everything I need to get out. So do your best, help me out. Try to hold your questions until the end, until the Q&A session. If for some reason I miss your question during the live stream, don't worry. I'm going to do my best, as always, to go back and answer any questions that I may have missed during the live stream. I'll go back and answer it in the comments. And same thing, guys, if you are watching during the replay and you have a question, feel free to put your question in the comments. I always try to go back and answer as many of those questions as possible. Now, you guys know I usually have information and freebies for you, and those things can be found in the description box of the YouTube video. So I always have people ask, and I know some people are like, oh my gosh, this is repetitive. You say this every time. I know, but there's new people that watch, guys. So we got to be patient with the new people, okay? So when I say that I've got links for you in the description box of the video, first, that is in the YouTube video. So if you're watching this on Facebook or if you're watching this on LinkedIn, come on over to the YouTube channel. Then, when you are on your laptop or desktop computer, you're going to look underneath the video. You're going to look underneath the title of the video, and then you're going to see a little bit of the description box, and you will see the word more. Click on the word more to open up the description box. Now, if you're like most of us, you might be watching this on your cell phone or another mobile device. If that's the case, there's another little extra step that you got to go through to get into that description box. Again, you're going to look underneath the video, underneath the title of the video. You're going to see the word more. Click on the word more. The description box is going to open up a little bit. Then you're going to have to click more or see more again. Click on that. Then once you've done that, whether you are looking at this on your laptop or desktop computer or your mobile device, the full description box will open up. You might need to scroll down to get to the links. Then there's going to be links to my goodies that I've got for you. The first link that I have for you, or the first freebie that I have for you, is my free new signing agent checklist. A link to that is in the description box of the YouTube video. And guys, I'm actually in the process of transforming that checklist into an actual online course that is going to be for free. So depending on when you click that link, you might not get a checklist. You might get directed to sign in for that free course. But either way, you are going to get the information that you need step by step to become a signing agent. That is always my biggest question that I get from people is, how do I become a signing agent? Break it down for me step by step. I do that in that checklist, and I'm also doing that in that free online course for you. So whether you get the checklist link or you get the course link, it is going to tell you exactly what you need to do. The next freebie I have for you is my free AI guide for notaries. Guys, we all know AI is getting bigger and bigger, and there's tons of ways that you can use AI to help you with your notary and your signing agent business. So I've got a guide that helps you folks, especially those of you who have maybe never used AI like ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff before. This guide will help you with some of the basics to get started successfully using AI in your notary and signing agent business. And again, the link for that guide is down in the description box of the YouTube video. All right. So we're going to get started, guys. Like I said, I got a lot of information that I want to go through in this video, and I want to make sure that I get it all done in my normal 1 hour time frame. So first, I want to remind you guys that notary law is different in every state. So you are going to have to make sure to look at the notary law specifically for your state. If you are talking to another notary, especially if that notary is in a state different from you, their law may require one thing and your law, state notary law, may say something totally different. Okay. So you need to first realize and recognize that the notary law is going to be different in every state. As a commissioned notary public, when you accept that commission, you are saying that you know and you are going to fully follow your state notary law. Guys, it's not just getting a stamp. It's not just getting a commission. You have to put the work in to learn your state notary law and then follow your state notary law. And I know people go, okay, well, where can I find the law? You should be able to find that on your state's Secretary of State or Department of State website. Your Secretary of State or Department of State will have a specific section for notaries. And in that specific section for notaries, they are going to have at least the law. They'll probably also have some training in there. They'll probably also have some FAQs in there. They'll probably have a lot of other good information in there for you to help you learn and follow your state notary law. But your state notary law can be found on your Secretary of State or Department of State website. I'm a Texas notary. All of my Texas notary law stuff is found on the Texas Secretary of State website. Guys, you have to know and learn and follow your state notary law for yourself. You cannot blame anyone else. It is your responsibility. Again, when you apply for a commission to be a notary and accept a commission to be a notary, you are saying that you understand that it is your responsibility to know and follow your state notary law. You can't blame anybody else. If you're doing loan signings, you can't blame the lender. You can't blame the title company. You can't blame a signing service. You can't blame the signers. You can't blame another notary. You can't blame the National Notary Association. You can't blame a notary trainer. You can't say, oh, I got the answer in a Facebook group. None of those things supersedes your state notary law. While some of those things can be helpful, while you might be able to get helpful information from these different areas, you still have to make sure that whatever information that you are getting is compliant with your state notary law, because nothing that any of these other groups that I have listed here on the screen supersedes what your state notary law says. And it is important, guys, that you follow your state notary law. First of all, it's important because it's the job. It's what you've said you're going to do when you become a notary. But here's the other thing. If you break your state notary law, if you do not follow your state notary law, you can face civil and criminal penalties. This ain't for play. This is serious, okay? So what are civil penalties? Civil charges cost you money. Civil charges is when somebody takes you to court and sues you. And the judge says, all right, yep, you're right. This person, we're finding them guilty. They now owe you some sort of restitution, some sort of financial compensation. So you can get sued and lose money if you do not follow your state notary law. And I know I've had some people say, well, I ain't got no money. So guess what? I don't care if I get sued. Guys, I promise you, these judgments are for real. They don't just go away if you don't have the money to pay them. Judgments will follow you for the rest of your life until they get satisfied. Liens can be placed on your property, your paychecks can be garnished, your taxes can be withheld. All kinds of things can happen, guys, if you get found guilty of civil charges and you do not pay them. Again, you can also be hit with criminal penalties. Criminal charges can land you in jail or in prison with a record. You can literally, guys, go to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200 for breaking your state's notary law. It is that serious. And then I've also had people say, well, I've got errors and omissions insurance, so I don't have to worry about any of that. But here's the deal, guys. Errors and omissions insurance does not protect you from knowingly breaking your state notary law. You might have heard the phrase, ignorance of the law is no defense. Because again, when you accept your commission, you are saying you know the law and you are going to follow the law. So if you then break the law, your errors and omissions insurance probably is not going to cover or protect you in that instance. And here's the reality, guys. Even if you happen to be found not guilty, you may still have court costs. Defending yourself in court is not free. You still have to pay to defend yourself in court. So even if you are found not guilty, you may still have out-of-pocket costs that come just from defending yourself. So guys, again, this is why it is so important for you to know and follow your state notary law so that you hopefully don't get found in an instance where you have to defend yourself against any types of charges. Okay. So since notary law is different in every state, I obviously cannot go into the specifics of every state's notary law. But what I'm going to do in this video is tell you the 7 things that you need to know from your state notary law and the 7 things that you need to follow from your state notary law. Okay. So the very first thing that you need to know in pretty much every state, I don't know of any state that does not require this, but I'm going to say for the most part, because again, I don't know every state's notary law specifically, but pretty much in every state, you have to require the personal appearance of a signer. What does that mean? That means that you and the signer must both be present face to face in the same physical or virtual room if you're doing an online notarization when the notarization takes place. You cannot notarize something for someone who is not personally in front of you. That person must always be in front of you when you notarize a document. Failing to require a signer to be present at the notarization is the number one claim of misconduct against notaries. This is the number one thing that notaries get in trouble for. This is the number one thing that notaries get sued over or go, to court over. And that is failing to require signers to be present at the notarization. You will always, always, always require personal appearance. And one of the things that I see that happens a lot is one of the ways that kind of notaries get, finagled or finessed on this is, let's say there's a document that needs to be signed by a husband and a wife. Let's say the wife signed it and then the husband brings it to you to notarize. Okay. So now you only have the husband in front of you, but he wants you to notarize his signature and his wife's signature. You cannot do that. You can only notarize his signature because he is the only person that is standing in front of you. The only way that you would be able to notarize his wife's signature is if she was also with him. And I want to say, this is something that I've gotten asked dozens of times by signers that I have had to turn them down. And I'm going to say most people aren't trying to do something illegal. I think a lot of people just don't realize that this is illegal. But this is something that you need to know is illegal, and you need to refuse that notarization. So you're always going to need to require personal appearance. All right. So the second thing that you need to know from your state notary law is how to verify a person's identity. And there are several ways that you can verify identity. The first way, and probably the way that you're going to use most of the time, is through some sort of identification card or identification document. So now I'm going to tell you the Texas notary law on what type of identification cards or documents we can accept in Texas. Again, if you are in a different state, You need to see what your state notary law says, because it is probably different than Texas notary law, okay? And even if you are here in Texas, don't trust me. Go to the Texas Secretary of State website and look this up for yourself. But in Texas, for an identification card or identification document, it must be valid, it must be non-expired, it has to be government issued, state government issued, or federal government issued. It has to include the signer's photo, and it has to include a signature. Any type of identification card that I accept must meet all of those requirements. Now, in Texas, if the transaction is a residential real estate transaction, then I can also accept a foreign passport. So that means no other foreign ID can be accepted on a residential real estate transaction. I can only accept a foreign passport. And if the transaction is not a residential real estate transaction, then I cannot accept a foreign passport. All right. So let's look at some examples of documents that common sense might say you should be able to accept, but the Texas notary law says that you cannot accept. So one that I get quite a bit is the new military IDs. So the newer military IDs with the little chip in them are not acceptable for notarization in Texas. And it is because they do not have a signature. I have tons of people who get upset with me about that, and I feel really, really bad. But I have to follow my state's notary law. And basically, the notary law was written a long time ago when the old military IDs used to have signatures on them. So military IDs used to be acceptable for notarization. But since they got updated and they no longer have a signature on them, that is not acceptable ID in the state of Texas for notarization. Another document that somebody, might try to give to you is a Social Security card. But again, a Social Security card is not acceptable because it does not have a photo. In Texas, it must have a photo to be acceptable for notarization. Again, guys, look at your state notary law to see what your state notary law says is acceptable. All right. So now, another way that you can verify somebody's identity is through personal knowledge. And again, this is for Texas. Look to see if your state allows personal knowledge. But personal knowledge is familiarity with an individual resulting from interactions with that person over a sufficient period of time to eliminate any reasonable doubt the person has the identity claimed. All right. So basically, you need to know that person for a long time. You need to know them. Now, Texas does not specify how long a notary must be acquainted with an individual. It doesn't say you got to know them for a year, 5 years, 10 years, 5 minutes. It doesn't say. So you have to use your best knowledge on whether or not you know a person personally to be able to use that to verify their identity. I'm going to tell you guys this. I personally never use personal knowledge to identify somebody. Even if somebody that I've known for years wants a document notarized by me, I still personally require that they give me their identification card. Because to me, with personal knowledge, there's a little bit of wiggle room that you might be able to get in trouble with. It is allowed by law, but I don't like to use it. But again, guys, as long as you are following your state's notary law, you can use personal knowledge to identify someone. Another way that you may be able to identify someone is through what is called a credible witness. A credible witness is a person who knows the signer well enough to swear or affirm that the signer has the identity he or she claims to have. Again, follow your state notary law on when and how a credible witness can be used. In Texas, a credible witness must be personally known to the notary, and the notary must administer an oath. Look and see what your state notary law says about credible witnesses. Another thing that you need to take into account when you are verifying a signer's identity is name discrepancies. The name on the ID that they provide to you needs to reasonably match the name on the document. Now, you're going to see that the name on the documents and the name on the ID do not always exactly match. You might have a signer, his name on his ID says Christopher James Smith, but the document says Chris J. Smith. So there's a little bit of a name discrepancy. You need to see what your state says about name discrepancies, if it says anything. And if it doesn't say anything about name discrepancies, you need to reasonably believe that the person that is standing in front of you, the person's ID and the name on the document are all reasonably the same person. So some of the things that you're going to see that might be on the ID that may not be on the document or vice versa are nicknames. Chris and Christopher are a big one. You will probably see that one a lot. Middle names and middle initials. Their ID might have a full middle name. The document just might have a middle initial. Junior or senior. Sometimes there may be junior or senior on the ID. There may not be junior or senior on the document. Okay. So you need to make sure, do a little more digging if you have to make sure that the person and the ID that you're being given is the same person as the name on the documents. And if you do not reasonably believe that they are the same, then you need to refuse the notarization. The person needs to provide you accurate ID for you to do that notarization. Do not let them bully you into a notarization if the names do not match. Another thing under name discrepancies that you need to keep in mind, and I see this a lot, getting married does not automatically change your last name. Ladies, just because you get married, your last name does not automatically change to your husband's last name. You have to take certain legal steps to change your last name. Those steps are going to be different in every state. But to give an example, if Susie Jones marries John Smith, she needs to legally change her name to Susie Smith. She cannot bring you an ID that says Susie Jones and a marriage certificate that says Susie Smith and expect you, or a marriage certificate that says that she married John Smith, and then expect you to notarize as if her name is Susie Smith. Because again, congratulations, I'm very happy for you and that you got married and all of those things. But getting married does not automatically change your last name. So unless your state specifically says that you can use an ID and a marriage certificate, in conjunction, then generally you cannot. If she's Susie Jones on the ID, she needs to be Susie Jones when she signs and you notarize those documents. But again, check your state notary law to see if there is something specific about that. And again, you also need to be willing to turn a notarization down if the ID and the name on the documents do not match. Now, specifically for loan signings, you're going to get pressure. Just because an ID meets the lender's requirements does not mean that it meets your state's notary law requirements. And I would get that a lot. I would turn down an ID. Let's say, somebody tried to offer me a military ID for identification. And again, it doesn't have a signature. I can't use that in the state of Texas for notarizations. And the lender will go, well, we're okay with the ID. Okay, that's great. That's great for your documents. But my state says that is not okay. So I can't use it for notarization. So just because your lender or the title company says that they are okay with the ID, that does not supersede your state's notary law. You are a disinterested third party for a reason, okay? You are supposed to follow your state's notary law no matter what any other party says, okay? You're not supposed to let the title company or the lender or the signing service bully you into doing a signing. You are here to prevent fraud. You are here to follow your state notary law. You are not here to make the title company, the lender, or the signing service happy, okay? Sometimes you're going to make them mad. I'm just going to tell you that, guys. Sometimes you got to tell them no. And sometimes you are going to make them mad because, again, just because the lender, title company, signing service, etc., says that an ID is acceptable does not make it acceptable. And another thing that you're going to hear a lot is, oh, well, we have an AKA statement in the document, so it's okay if the ID and, the name on the documents doesn't match. Again, it may be okay to the lender. It may be okay to the title company, but it is not okay to your state. Unless your state notary law says otherwise, you cannot accept or use an AKA statement in the place of acceptable ID. Again, you gotta tell them no. If your state does not say an AKA statement is okay, you gotta tell them no, guys. Because again, what's gonna happen? If there's a problem with that notarization, it is going to fall on you. When you are standing in front of that judge, you can't say, well, the lender told me to do it, or the signing service told me to do it, or the title company told me to do it. The judge is not going to care. And I promise you, neither that lender, that title company, or that signing service is going to be there to try to protect you or defend you. You are going to be on your own, and you're going to have to answer as to why you knew the law and did not follow it. All right. So now, the third thing that you need to know in your notary law is that you need to confirm the signer's willingness. Let me back up a little bit because I kind of just said it, but I want to reiterate this. The job of a notary public is to prevent fraud. And we prevent fraud by following our state notary law when we identify someone and by confirming that that person is signing the document willingly. That's how we prevent fraud. We make sure that this person is who they say they are, and we make sure that nobody is trying to force them to sign the document. So you might have to ask questions to confirm that a signer is acting willingly. If the person is kind of reluctant to sign, use your words. Ask them, hey, are you signing this of your free will? Do you want to sign this document? And I tell people all the time, if you don't want to sign it, you do not have to sign. Okay. Now, again, if you're doing a loan signing, the lender, the title company, the real estate agent may be pressuring you to pressure the signers into signing. But again, you are breaking the law when you do that. The signer has to be signing willingly. Do not pressure a signer ever, ever, ever to sign anything. They always have to sign of their free will. And if you have any feeling that they're not signing under their free will, you need to ask them. And if it still seems like they're not signing under their free will, you need to refuse the notarization. You also need to confirm that the signer is generally aware of what is taking place. So this happens sometimes with elderly signers, and I've had to refuse notarizations where, let's say it's the grandma and she's got family around her trying to force her to refinance or sell a property. And she's like, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to sign. And the family's like, oh, grandma, just sign it, grandma, just hurry up and sign it, just sign it. Well, I don't know. Grandma's not signing willingly. Now, I don't know what's going on in that situation. I don't know if this transaction is good for grandma, bad for grandma. It don't matter. If grandma is not signing willingly, then refuse the notarization. Another instance when a person may not be willing is when they are under medication, okay? Be very mindful when you are doing signings at a hospital or somewhere else where a person may be heavily medicated. If any of you have ever taken allergy medicine or pain medicine, it makes you loopy. You're not in your right mind. Heavy things like morphine or heavy pain medications can just make you not care what is going on in the world. And those medications are basically preventing you from signing willingly. I had an instance where it wasn't in a hospital, but I had a husband and a wife call me to notarize a document for them. But when I got there, I think they said that the husband had hurt his back or tweaked his back or something. And so he had taken some very heavy pain medication. And he wasn't all the way there because of his pain medication. And the wife got upset because I refused the notarization. And I was like, hey, I'm not saying that your husband doesn't want to sign this. But what I'm saying is I cannot confirm that he does want to sign this because of the effects of the medication that he is under. Okay. So that's another thing that you need to take into consideration when you are confirming willingness, but you always need to be reasonably sure that the signer is signing the document willingly. Another thing that you need when you are confirming willingness is a best practice is to have direct communication between the notary and the document signer. Again, check your state notary law because some states may require it, some states may not care, but generally direct communication between you and the signer in the same language is a best practice, and it might even be required by your state notary law. So I live in San Antonio, Texas. We have a very large Spanish speaking population and community here in San Antonio. And your girl don't hablo español. I don't speak Spanish. Okay. So I don't do signings for Spanish speaking signers because I cannot directly communicate with them. And I'll have people say, oh, well, their child or this family member is going to translate, or their real estate agent is going to translate. But guys, here's the reality. You don't know what that translator is saying, especially if they are, a friend or family member or whatever. They may have an interest in the transaction. You don't know what they're telling them. You don't know if they're translating accurately back, what the signer is saying to you. You have no idea. So since you don't know what they are saying, guess what? You cannot confirm willingness. The signer might not be willing, but you don't know that because you don't speak the same language as them. So again, check your state notary law. Find out if it is a requirement or not in your state that you be able to directly communicate in the same language with the signer. And even if it is not specifically stated, even if it is not a requirement, it is still a best practice. Because again, I always think about if I go to court over a notarization and I have to explain to a judge why I did what I did, I want to be able to explain it. And I want to be covered the best way that I can. Because I tell people all the time, nobody's notarization is worth me getting sued or me going to jail over. All right. The fourth thing that you need to know about in your notary law is whether or not you need a journal. Some states require that you keep a journal. Some states do not. I will say this. If your state does not require that you keep a journal, unless they prohibit you from keeping a journal, I would suggest that you keep a journal, because the reality is your notary journal protects you. I know people complain about having to fill out their notary journal. If you're doing a loan signing or if you've got multiple documents, it may take a long time to fill out that journal. But here's the reality, guys. Your notary journal protects you. Again, if you get called into court over a notarization, it may not be a notarization that you just did. I've been a notary for over 20 years now. I could get called into court over a notarization that I did 20 years ago. Okay. If they ask me a question, I promise you, I don't remember, but I have my notary journals from my very first notarization on. And so I can use my notary journal as proof of what happened in the transaction. If your state requires that you keep a journal, then you need to know two things. You need to know what items must be in your notary journal. And you also need to know the items that are prohibited from being in your notary journal. Some of the things that you need to look at: whether or not your journal has to be signed. Can you get a fingerprint? Do you have to do a separate line for each document, or can you just kind of list all of the documents and have the signer sign your notary journal one time? These are different things that you need to look in your notary law to see what the requirements are. So I'm going to tell you about Texas. Again, this is Texas. You need to check out your state separately. But in Texas, we do have to keep a notary journal, but it does not have to be signed. Okay. So you have to keep a record of the notarization. You can get a signature, but the signer does not have to sign your notary journal if they do not want to. And a couple of important things that we are prohibited from putting in our notary journal is ID numbers. So let's say I looked at this person's Texas driver's license to identify them. I can put that I saw their Texas driver's license, but I cannot put their driver's license number in my journal. In Texas, we also cannot collect biometric identifiers like a fingerprint. Okay. So I know that's different. Some states require a fingerprint. Texas says no fingerprints. So again, guys, look in your notary law to see. I have got documents that I've had just another random notary notarize for me, and they try to put my ID number down. I'm like, you're breaking the law, and they're like, well, there's a space in my journal for it. Your journal is not the law. You need to look at what your state notary law says. And regardless of whether there is a space in your journal for this particular item or not, if your state prohibits that item, do not collect that item. But again, you need to look in your state notary law to see what you must have and what you are prohibited from having. All right. The fifth thing that you need to know about in your state notary law is when to administer an oath. Okay. So an oath is that ceremony that you see. Usually we're used to seeing it in courts, right? Where the person is told to put their hand on a Bible and raise their other hand. And then they say, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. That is an oath that is given in court. There is an oath that you need to do sometimes as a notary in some situations. So first, you need to look and see what oath your state notary law provides you to give. And then you need to know, does a physical gesture need to be given with that? Does the person need to raise their right hand? That's usually what they have to do. And then you need to know how the person should answer that oath. Generally, they have to answer affirmatively with either I do or yes. Them nodding or them going, is not good enough. They need to clearly say, I do or yes. And the main times that you will have to administer an oath is if you are doing a jurat. That's a particular notary certificate. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more in a second. You need to provide an oath for credible witnesses. So we talked about getting IDs. Credible witnesses can be used for ID. If you're using a credible witness, generally you have to administer an oath to that person. You also generally have to administer an oath for something called subscribing witnesses. But again, your state will tell you when you have to administer an oath. So you need to know, when am I administering an oath? What is that oath? And how does the person have to answer that oath? All right. The sixth thing you need to know is what you got to do to witness or acknowledge someone's signature. So again, there's usually a couple of different notary certificates that you are going to see a lot. The first certificate is called an acknowledgement. Okay. In an acknowledgement, all you're saying in this certificate is that the person before you acknowledged that that is their signature on the document. If the certificate on the document is an acknowledgement, the signer can actually sign the document before they get to you. But then remember, the signer still has to personally appear before you, and they have to acknowledge, they have to tell you, yes, that is my signature. Now, the other notary certificate that you are going to use a lot is called a jurat. And when you use a jurat, the document must be signed in your presence. So they cannot bring you a document that is pre-signed. If the notary certificate that is on the document that you are filling out is a jurat, then they must sign that document in your presence. But again, what I've been telling you through this whole video, find out what your state notary law specifically says about acknowledgments and jurats and witnessing signatures for those certificates. Because again, you need to make sure that you're doing it right. If somebody brings you a jurat and it is already signed and you notarize it, guess what? You just broke the law. And if somebody disputes that notarization, you end up in court, civil penalties, criminal penalties. We don't want that. All right. And then the last thing, the major thing, this ain't the only thing, but these are the major things that you need to know about in your state notary law is how to complete a notary certificate. So I told you two of the main notary certificates that you're going to see, acknowledgments and jurats. Couple of things about those. You cannot select the type of certificate that is required for a document. So let's say somebody brings you a document and says, hey, I need to get this notarized, but there is no notary certificate on there. First of all, you can't sign and stamp a document that does not have a notary certificate. You're only going to sign and stamp if there is a notary certificate. If they do not have one already on the document, then you need to ask the signer, do you want an acknowledgement? Do you want a jurat? Or do you want both? You as the notary cannot select it. The signer or the creator of the document needs to tell you what type of certificate or certificates they want on the document. Never, ever, ever select for the signer. Because guess what? You're breaking the law. And we don't want to break the law, right? The next thing with notary certificates, never, ever, ever pre-sign and or pre-stamp them. notary certificates must always be signed and stamped by you in the presence of the signer. They have to see you sign it and stamp it. And again, only the name of the signers that are personally appearing before you should be in the certificate. So in that example that I gave earlier, where a husband brought in a document that was already signed by his wife, her name is on the certificate, but he is the only person who is appearing. What I would do in that instance is put a line through her name, just in my notary certificate, because she did not appear before me. Only his name is going to be in my notary certificate because only he appeared before me. His signature is the only one that I am notarizing. So only the names of the signers that personally appear before you should be in the certificate. When you complete a notary certificate, there's 4 parts. There's going to be the venue at the top. That is where you are standing when you actually notarize the document. It's usually going to be state and county or state and parish. For me, a lot of times that is state of Texas, county of Bexar. I live in Bexar County. That's where most of my notarizations take place. The body of the certificate is the big chunky part that's going to have the date, the name of the signers. It's going to have either acknowledgement wording or jurat wording. You're going to also have your signature and your stamp. And again, you only sign and stamp when the signers are in front of you. Do not pre-sign and stamp. Guys, notary certificates must always meet your state notary law requirements. You will often get documents that already have a notary certificate on them, but you need to look at that certificate and make sure that it meets the requirements for your states. I will occasionally get some documents where it looked like somebody just made up some stuff. I don't know where they got this wording from, but it was not like official Texas notary certificate wording. So if the wording of the notary certificate is not correct, you have to do a couple of things. You either need to, if it's something minor that you can line through and correct, then you need to line through it and correct it, and always follow your state notary's instructions on how to make corrections. Or if it's too messed up, you need to attach what is called a loose certificate. You need to provide a certificate that is compliant for your state. So if the certificate that was on the document was an acknowledgement, but it was not compliant for your state, then you need to attach a loose acknowledgement that is compliant for your state. If the certificate that is on the document was a jurat, but it was not compliant for your state, then you need to attach a loose jurat that is compliant for your state. If the certificate is so messed up, you can't tell if it's an acknowledgement or a jurat, then you need to ask the signer, do you want an acknowledgement? Do you want a jurat? Or do you want both? Sample certificates that are compliant for your state can be found on your Secretary of State website or your Department of State website. Guys, loose certificates that you purchase from anywhere may or may not be compliant for your state. Okay, so don't waste your money. Just go to your Secretary of State or Department of State website. They will provide sample certificates. And then you can just literally type them up in Microsoft Word, print out blank ones that you can just fill in, and you don't have to spend money on somebody providing you with loose certificates that, again, may or may not be compliant for your state. Because guess what? If you use a loose certificate that is not compliant for your state and you go to court, guess what? Saying, well, I bought this certificate from this website is not going to save you. You can still face civil and criminal charges. I'm going to nail that into your head, guys, because this is very, very important. So now I know I just gave you a little bit of information about notary certificates. If you want more training about how to complete a notary certificate, you know I got a video for you. It's called The Beginner's Guide to Flawless Notarizations. The link to that video is in the description box of the YouTube video. Check out that video. It will help walk you through how to complete notary certificates. But again, guys, please, 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 I cannot stress this enough because so many people become notaries and don't seem to understand just how important this is. Again, it's important to the public because our job is to prevent fraud, but it is also important to you because the penalties that you can face if you do not take the time to learn and follow your state notary law, are very, very serious. Again, this ain't for play. This isn't a slap on the wrist. This is very serious stuff. Again, you can get sued, you can go to jail, and you can go to prison. And I don't want any of that to happen to any of you guys, especially when finding your state notary law and following your state notary law is so super, super simple. And guys, for those of you who are looking to become signing agents, but you just need a little more help, a little more training, make sure that you check out my Signing Agent Advanced Training Program. Just like I went in depth on helping you right now figure out what you need to do to be compliant with your state notary law, this is how I teach in my Signing Agent Advanced Training Program for the people who want to be signing agents. I teach you step by step everything that you need to not just be okay, to not just be good, but to be an exceptional signing agent. You get advanced video instruction, you get sample documents with scripts. I teach you how to market for higher paying direct business, how to avoid signing agent mistakes. And guys, I am a mentor that you can actually reach out to for assistance. All right, guys, look, we are at the Q&A section of this video. I saw a few questions up there. I'm going to scroll back up and try to answer those questions. But if you have any questions, now is the time. Let me scroll up here. Okay, so Victoria said, wait. So if I'm doing general notary work, the signer cannot use a foreign passport. And she mentioned that she is in Texas. So in Texas, the only time that a foreign passport is allowed is if it is for a document related to a residential real estate transaction. That's it. And again, I'm going to encourage you, go to the Texas Secretary of State website. Look at the law for yourself. Don't believe anybody. Don't believe me. Go look at the law. But Texas notary law says you can only use a foreign passport for transactions for residential real estate transactions. So if they're coming to you with just some random document and all they have for identity is a foreign passport, no, you cannot accept it. So this is one of these things, guys, where I'm telling you, don't ever assume anything. Always look at your state notary law, because a lot of times what you think is common sense that you should be able to accept, your state may not agree with you, okay? They may have some specific information that they're giving on a particular transaction. And again, this is where I get into a lot of, I'm not gonna say arguments, because I don't argue with people about the law. I basically say, this is the law. This is why I can't do this notarization. But people will get upset because, again, they'll feel like, well, you know, let's say with ID, they want to give me a military ID. I can't accept it. And they get upset about it because common sense says you should be able to accept this military ID. I feel you. I feel your pain. But unfortunately, my state notary law says that I cannot. And what I also do is I point it out to them in the law. I have the link to the Texas Secretary of State website linked on my phone. I can pull it up and look at it and point to them and say, it's not me. It's not that I don't want to do your notarization, but my state notary law says I cannot. And since I cannot, if I do it, I can get sued or go to jail. I like you. You're very nice people, but I'm not going to get sued or go to jail over your transaction. This person says, would you initial the line? And if I'm not mistaken, you were asking this when I was on the section talking about making corrections to your notary certificate. My answer to that is you need to see what your state notary law says. Your state notary law may say all you have to do is make the correction and initial. Your state notary law might say you need to make the initial. I'm gonna spit it out. Your state notary law says you might need to make the correction, initial, and put a date. Look in your state notary law. I know I sound like a broken record, guys. Again, it's never common sense. It always needs to be what your state notary law says. And then if your state notary law does not have anything specific on it, then you can fall back on, okay, well, this is common sense. My state doesn't say, one way or the other what I have to do. So I'm just going to initial, or I'm going to initial and date. But you need to look and see if your state notary law has a particular process for you to correct certificates. Some states may say that there cannot be any corrections in a certificate. So if that's the case, then you might have to attach a loose certificate. I don't know what your state notary law says. So you need to look at your state notary law to see what it says about corrections. Please recommend a good and fair price printer for beginners. Thank you in advance. I have a video about printers. There is no one printer that I suggest, because here's the deal. Printer models change like every other week. I can't keep up with all these printers. What you need to do is your research to get a printer that is a good price for you. Okay. I in my printer video tell you the basics that you need, and then it is up to you for your business to do the research to see what printers are available in your price range. Okay. In general, you're going to need a laser printer. Now, it can be a single tray printer if that's what's in your budget right now. However, I would recommend a dual tray printer, a printer that you can print both letter and legal size paper. And you don't need color. Other than that, you need to find what's in your budget. That's really what it is. There is no one magical, awesome printer that works for everybody. Brother is a popular brand. I personally prefer HP printers, but you need to decide what works for you. I will say this. There is known compatibility issues with Brother printers and Apple products like Mac computers. So if you have a Mac computer, then you may not want to use a Brother printer just because of those compatibility issues. But I don't have one particular printer that I go, use this printer, because I can do that. And the next week they stop making that model, and then another model is going to come out. So this is where the rubber meets the road for you being a business owner, needing to find the best printer for you in your price range. One thing I'm interested in is getting into jail and hospital notarizations. Do I have any tips for that? I don't have any specific tips for that. My biggest tip is follow your state notary law. Because again, like I was talking about, if you're doing hospital notarizations, people may be on medication that makes it that you cannot confirm their willingness to sign. So you need to be aware of that and okay with the fact that you may have to tell people no when you get there, because they're under the influence of medications that make it impossible for you to determine their willingness. In jail signings, you need to make sure that whatever identification cards they have are acceptable for your state. So for example, if the only ID a person has is their little jail ID, I cannot accept that in the state of Texas for notarization, because that is not federal or state government issued. Okay. So what does your state say about IDs? You need to make sure that you can get whatever the ID is that matches your state notary law requirements. And don't get bullied by any of the people who are trying to get you to complete a notarization. Because again, no offense, none of these people care about you guys. None of these people care about you. All of these people just want their document notarized. They don't care if you break the law, because they understand that you're the person who is going to be in trouble, not them. So again, always make sure that you know and follow your state notary law. That is my best piece of advice, regardless of the type of notarizations that you are trying to do. All right, guys. Woo! We are right at the 1 hour mark. I'm very proud of myself for staying on track. I hope that this video helps you guys. I see a lot of people who become notaries and are missing, you're missing the whole thing. You want to become a signing agent, you want to do jail signings, you want to do online notarizations, but they never take the time to actually learn their state notary law. You do not. I hear people also say, well, you should do general notary work first, or, you need to be a good notary public before you do any of this other stuff. You need to know your state notary law. You do not have to start off with general notary work. You just need to know your state notary law. Okay. Now, if you choose to start off doing general notary work or something else, you absolutely can. That is your prerogative. Doesn't matter. But regardless of what type of signings you are doing, you need to make sure that you know and follow your state notary law. All right, guys, that is all that I have for you today. Hopefully this video helped you out. Whether you're watching this on the live or on the replay, let me know in the chat or in the comments whether or not this video helped you. And guess what? I'm gonna be back next month with another subject for you guys to help you become productive and profitable notaries and signing agents. You guys have a great time, and I will see you next month. Bye, guys.